What's going on, everyone? Thank you all so much for being here. I love seeing all the people in the chat already. Anybody that's watching this after the live stream, thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch little old me talk about sports and things like that. That being said, let's get right into the discussions. Any of your questions, anything like that, let me know in the chat. I will try to get to them as quickly as possible. Any super chats take priority, all of that jazz. Actually, here, let me put the little banner up for people that come in after. And yeah, let's get right into it. First off, what is going on? Thank you so much, Marcus, for being here. I really appreciate it. What else we got? I don't know what that says. I'm assuming Westbrook, something in regards to trading for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. I'm assuming just to get rid of Russell Westbrook. That's probably my guess on that, just because that's usually what people want. But as far as like the chaos that is just going on in the NBA world, right? We got so much in regards to the Ayton deal. The Suns, it was reported by Woj shortly before I came on the stream that the Suns matched Ayton's deal. So that is pretty interesting, and it changes a lot. It really does. It makes a lot of things kind of dominoes fall in many ways, right? Because now that pretty much rules out the Suns for a trade. I mean, not entirely. The Suns could still make a trade and still make it work, but it makes things so much more difficult because now you're kind of stuck. And what are the Pacers going to do? Are the Pacers going to end up trading Miles Turner regardless? Are they going to keep it going? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But I definitely think it's a domino, the first domino to fall. But that being said, let's see what we got here. Yes, so that what's up? What's up? Malin, what's up, Jay? Thank you so much for being here. Austin, I can't stay long, but want to stop by. Well, thank you. I appreciate you being here so much. Would you trade LeBron for KD? That's tough because personally, I don't think this would ever happen, but it does make a lot of sense. The only issue is that would KD actually want to play with LeBron James? And I want to change this. I was trying to, sorry, bear with me for a second. I want to change it to this. We'll change it to that. That looks better, I guess. Right? Does this look better? Does the other background look better? Let me know in the chat. I was trying, because I had the white one that is my thing, and it was too bright. It really like made things awkward. So I was like, oh, let me try the brick. Maybe we'll go back to the as it stands. But anyway, to get back to this question, is when it comes to LeBron and KD, like if KD wanted to play with Russell Westbrook, then yeah, I think it could make a lot of sense. I think it's something that you maybe at least explore. It can make sense for both sides, right? LeBron gets to go play with his guy and Kyrie Irving. The Kevin Durant gets to go play with his guy, Anthony Davis, which Kyrie Irving Kevin Durant had all the praise in the world for Anthony Davis, right? About a year or two ago, where he talked about he had him in his like top 5 all time and all that stuff, and just talked about how he's a guy that could do everything. And then I think Stephen A even like mentioned it and was like, really, Anthony Davis? Like, why Anthony Davis out of everybody? And he was like, name another guy that could do everything. So I think it'd be interesting. I think it would come down to, would KD want to actually go play with Kyrie or with Russell Westbrook? Because we know LeBron and Kyrie want to play together. I just don't think LeBron would want to do that. Like, LeBron went to the Lakers for a multitude of reasons beyond just basketball. Like, he had other options. It's not like LeBron looked at the landscape and was like, it'd be the best team is let's go to the Lakers that have been in shambles the last 6 years. Like, no, it was a lot of things that went into it that I just don't see changing. I just personally don't. So I don't think that would happen. Let's get that Kyrie talk going. Best sports talk on YouTube. Love the channel, buddy. Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the compliments. And yeah, I mean, the Kyrie thing, it's going to be interesting to see how this shapes out, because it's looking more and more likely that Kevin Durant is going to stay with Brooklyn. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the Durant trade, and if there's any kind of working resolution there. But now that Ayton's kind of out of the picture till January, and then beyond Ayton being out of the picture till January, the only really team that could make a real trade package that would be to the liking of the Nets would be the Warriors. and there's all the talks about, Steph talking to KD and all this stuff. Like, would he want to go back to the Warriors? Maybe. I mean, it's a possibility. I wouldn't completely rule it out, but it's going to be interesting to say. I still think the trade happens. I still think it gets done, but it is very fascinating to see how, like, what's going to unfold and what the impact and backlash will be of this Ayton deal now that the Suns have matched Ayton. So you think Lakers getting Kyrie? Yes, I still do. I still think it ends up happening. Because even if they do keep KD, who's to say Kyrie still wants to be there? I think the bridge is burned. And there's always the possibility and likelihood that they run it back for a year. Maybe KD's like, hey, let's do this together for one more year. Let's try to go on a run, and maybe we can win a chip. If not, then you can go sign with the Lakers next year, and I'll force their hand again to try to go get traded. I mean, it's very possible. Donovan Mitchell, I think, is going to be a huge domino as well, because depending on how that shapes up and what is the actual transaction for him, that could put Kevin Durant's trade in a completely different light one way or another. So that's something that we got to keep in mind going forward as well. But I still don't think it affects the Kyrie deal, because I just think Brooklyn wants to be done with Kyrie. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that even if they are able to keep Kevin Durant, they very likely just want to get rid of Kyrie. How does this Ayton deal affect the Kyrie trade? For a multitude of reasons. First off, it makes the trade for Kevin Durant less likely. It's still not impossible. It still could happen. Either way, it's going to be a multi-team deal. No matter what happens, the trade is not going to. It's not going to be a Suns, Nets trade just straight up. It's going to be something that is like, here are 4 or 5 teams all getting the pieces that they want, adding, this piece, that piece, and the other, and then that one team, like the Suns or whatever, end up with Kevin Durant. But if they don't trade Kevin Durant, then it affects the Kyrie trade, because maybe they run it back. Like, can they convince him to go on one more run this year and kind of just give us that one last, like, and then you can go sign with the Lakers. But a couple things that I think when I look at that is, like, one, do they want to lose Kyrie for nothing? And two, do they want the headache that is Kyrie? And you have to get Kyrie to buy in, because if Kyrie doesn't buy in, then it's pointless. Because he's just going to be a headache. He's going to be a nightmare. Kevin Durant is the kind of player, he's not going to cause mayhem. He just wants to hoop. He cares what the media thinks about him. He cares what people think about him. So he's going to be the kind of guy that is going to show up, and he's going to play, and he's going to perform. But Kyrie's not that guy. Kyrie could care less. And we've seen him do things based on his principles that he sat out and didn't play. I mean, the guy lost $17 million in a shoe deal. Like, you think he won't go and find a doctor that'll give him a doctor's note and just take the season off for some leg injury or something like that, and you still have to pay him? Of course he will. So yes, that's an excellent point as well. KD is younger. Will Jabari Walker be the steal of the draft? That is interesting. So I'm still not high on Chet as many people are. I think he has potential, but I mean, he's like, you blow on him and he's floating away. I think he has an incredible skill set. I think he has a lot of potential, but we've seen very similar guys. And he could very likely just be another guy, right? I think he will be star level, but to be the face of your franchise type guy, I don't know. I still have a lot of concerns with him, but he's young, all that stuff. Paolo, I think, is going to be very likely the best player in this draft, and very likely the best player from the jump, from the beginning. Just his size, his skill set, just everything that goes into him. Now, as it goes for Jabari, I think it's going to be a very interesting road for him. I think that he has all the potential in the world. I could easily see him being a guy that could go and completely take over and become this star, and just he has the intangibles, he has the skill set. I mean, he had 19 points the other night, and he didn't take a single dribble. You're talking Klay Thompson level stats, right? But my concern with him is you need somebody that can set him up, right? Chet can get the ball off the rim on the defensive rebound and just take it down the court, cross some dude over and get to the basket. Like Jabari, I don't see doing that. Paolo, same thing. Get the rebound, boom, take it, get to the hoop, pass it up, whatever. I have a lot of concerns with Jabari. Jabari seems like he's going to be a tremendous player, but he needs to get his overall skill sets together. He's a guy that can shoot lights out. He's a guy that can shoot off the dribble, catch and shoot, all of that stuff. I think he's really great, but he's as of right now, he seems like a guy that needs that setup point guard. He's not a guy that you can just give the ball and he can just go to work. But again, he's young, lots of potential. LeBron could go with his buddy Ben Simmons too. Yeah, I wonder how that pairing would work. If Westbrook is still on the Lakers opening day, he will be booed when announced in the starting lineup. It's very likely. Now, I personally still think Russell Westbrook is still that dude. I really do. And I know a lot of people feel otherwise, but recency bias is a real thing. And people forget that a year before he went to the Lakers, he was a 30-point triple-double guy, and him and Bradley Beal with a bunch of random role players took the Wizards to the playoffs. And yes, they didn't go anywhere beyond that, but still, the fact that the two of them, he was still that dude. And you had injuries, and Beal was not at 100%, and it was mostly Westbrook for a good chunk of that season, and he was able to do it and work it out. The games that we saw without LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook was a 30-point triple-double guy. That's just he's shown that he still has that in him. He's not completely without fault. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take fault away from him, but there's a lot of things we got to look into that as well. Frank Vogel never put him in position to be successful, ever. He got relegated to being a corner spot-up shooter. And the whole point of getting Westbrook was to alleviate LeBron James. Yet every time that one of them was on the court, the other was on the court. That is so counterproductive. How many times do we see Rajon Rondo, LeBron James, and Westbrook on the court for ample periods of time? And then when they got rid of Rondo, guess what? It was THT, Westbrook, and LeBron for ample periods of time. How is Westbrook supposed to be successful? You got Westbrook to let him be Westbrook. That's what everyone was saying. LeBron, Davis, Vogel, Rob Pelinka, everyone. We got Westbrook to let him be Westbrook. And not one time did you let him be Westbrook. So I think he's very likely going to be a guy that is going to go to another team, and he's going to be that 30-point triple-double guy again. I just think he's on the wrong team and the wrong fit. That's personal. Everything takes time, like I said, people, I understand people want this rushed and people want this to hurry along, but you got to keep in mind, you got Summer League, you got a lot of things going on. These trades take time. The Nets don't have to rush. The Lakers don't have to rush. No one does. We still have a month and a half before the offseason's over, and most trades take weeks, if not months. I mean, even the James Harden trade, right? Everyone knew he was going to the Sixers, and that dragged on for a month. It's how it works in the NBA. LeBron not getting traded. He a cash cow for Genie and the Lakers organization, and I'm a LeBron fan. Yeah, he's not. They would never trade him, and LeBron would never want to be traded either. But that's also why I don't buy LeBron leaving after next season. Regardless, I don't think he leaves the Lakers unless either the year his son comes in, which would be 2025, or if he decides, after next season, I'm just going to retire. And then maybe he goes to the Cavs for a year, signs a 1-year deal, and retires a Cav. But realistically, I don't see LeBron going anywhere. I just don't. I mean, like I said, he didn't go to the Lakers just for the basketball reasons. It was for him to expedite the process to become a billionaire, which he did. I mean, he still would have became a billionaire regardless, but it would have took him more time. I think KD, AD, and Russ could be very good together. I mean, I think they could too. I mean, Russ and KD were a really good pairing. They had their moments of clunkiness, but I mean, they were a very successful duo. And I mean, they should have been in the finals before KD went to the Warriors. They just dropped the ball, but they really should have been in the NBA Finals that year. And they would have beaten, the 73 win team and all that stuff. I mean, they just really did. They just dropped the ball. They were a really good pairing together. And then add Anthony Davis to that. I mean, that's scary. Um, I used to work at Staples Centers. From what I'm hearing, is that people are torn between trading AD for KD. I got some reliable inside sources with that. So, I mean, I personally, I would do that immediately. Although I really do think Anthony Davis can be that guy, and I really am curious to see what happens with him. Is he going to be that guy that the bubble AD all season? Like I'd like to see him put together that MVP style season, but in reality, like if you can get Kevin Durant for Anthony Davis and keep LeBron James and you can get Kyrie, I wouldn't do it unless you can get Kyrie too. Like if you can do a trade where you get, you're basically trading Westbrook and Anthony Davis and you're getting back KD and Kyrie, then yes, I would do that immediately because LeBron with Anthony Davis and Kyrie would be unfair. But if it's just like trading KD for AD and you still have Westbrook and you still have LeBron, I don't think it works because I don't think AD and Westbrook are the problem. I think Westbrook and LeBron are the problem. So I think it just depends on what develops with that. Please like, comment, share, subscribe to As It Stands channel. Click that bell icon. Get video updates. You will not regret it. Thank you so much, Jason. I really appreciate that. Thank you all so much. And yes, please, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Share this video. Help me get this out. I really appreciate it. We got quite a turnout so far. We got about 180 people. I love it. Thank you all so much for being here. That'd be so stupid if Kevin Durant goes back to the Warriors. I understand the thinking in it, but personally, I don't think he ever should have left the Warriors to begin with. I mean, you had a little spat with Draymond Green. Okay, I get it. And you had the owner kind of, make that like lighthearted, but in real talk type joke where it was like, we don't really need you. So Kevin Durant felt slighted, but in reality, he was the happiest there. He understood his role. He knew what it meant. He was winning championships. The city loved him. Everything was great during that stretch. And so I think if he went back to the Warriors, he'd likely have the same thing. Like, who cares what the media thinks? Who cares what everyone says? Who cares what everyone thinks? Like, go to where you're going to be happy. You just want to hoop and just chill, right? That's your goal, is to just play ball and just like not worry about nothing. Go back to the Warriors. You're going to win a bunch of championships. You probably win another 1 or 2 championships at least. You got 4 years there. It's where you belong. They know how to work it. There's none of that like figuring it out stage because you already have it figured out. I just think that would be the best option for him. What's going on? Thank you so much, Golden Eagle, for being here. Excuse me. Heat will probably trade for Kyrie now. Yeah, so I'll probably do a video about that tomorrow. I got another video scheduled for later tonight after this live stream. But yeah, I know a couple people wanted me to talk about like the Kyrie for Kyle Lowry. I just don't see it. I think it's another thing. Look, we heard the reports that the Dallas Mavericks and the Philadelphia 76ers both wanted Kyrie. And what happened? That they both came out immediately and said, no, we want nothing to do with Kyrie. And Miami's not going to put up with his nonsense. Like Pat Riley is a no BS type of guy. I mean, you can't even play for their team unless you pass their athletic physical background, which no other team has. It's their thing. It's like, if you want to play for this team, they won't even let you step on the court unless you're a certain percent of body fat, all of that stuff. Like, Kyrie's not going to want to go to Miami. I just don't see that. And I don't see Pat Riley wanting Kyrie. I just don't see it. And they're not going to trade up a fortune to go get Kyrie. So, the Lakers would give up a lot more than Miami would because the Lakers are more desperate. Miami, you're better off saving your assets and going and trying to get like a Donovan Mitchell or something. I think Donovan Mitchell would be perfect for Miami, personally. But in my opinion, I think KD doesn't want to go back to Brooklyn to play with Kyrie. I mean, I think their relationship is likely split as well in many ways. I don't think they'll ever, speak that publicly. And I don't think like they hate each other or nothing. But I think that the relationship has been damaged. I think it's definitely taken a hit. It's been hurt. All of those things. So I could see, even if KD does stay with the Nets, I could see Kyrie still getting traded. I think it very much happens. People keep forgetting Kendrick Nunn. If you mean on as like the team, or if you mean as like in a trade package. But if we're talking about the team, I've mentioned Kendrick Nunn a bunch of times. I think Kendrick Nunn, like people forget how good Kendrick Nunn was with the Miami Heat. He just didn't play last year. Like if he could get back to like the Kendrick Nunn we saw in Miami, that you're talking about a 20-point a game guy. You're talking about a guy who was torching teams in the playoffs, who was not afraid of the big moment, who played the Lakers in the finals and was giving them the business, putting up 25 to 30 a game. Like that dude is something else. So I mean that's kind of my thinking and logic, if I'm being honest. Like I think Kendrick Nunn is that dude still. I really do. I think he's quite that guy. 115 people in the chat, only 15 likes. Got to do better than that. Yes, I appreciate it. We have 200 people in the chat now. If you haven't liked this video, please hit that like button. It really does. It helps me during this video, and it helps me even after. You'd be surprised the power of the like button and what that has on this stream. So if you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. Help me out a lot. And another thing, AD is trying hurt that trade by publicly saying he hasn't picked up basketball in months. I mean, but that's always been his thing, like always. So like what he does is he finishes the season and then he takes like a month and a half off and just kind of rests himself and rests his body, and then he gets back into training. And so during that time, because I covered it on this channel too, but during that time, it was that time period. So it's not like it's something new. It's not like it's something different. But Anthony Davis has been in the lab. He's been working. He's been, doing his thing, which is good, which is what you want to see. But you also got to hear Anthony Davis has never been that public display workout guy. A lot of NBA players aren't. Not everybody's LeBron James where they're, posting every little thing they do, every workout, everything like that. Like a lot of these guys are very, quiet when it comes to that type of thing. So that's just something else to kind of keep in mind as well. Nets want to get this over with before training camp. I can tell the team chemistry is screwed up with them. I think so too. I don't see a scenario where the Nets bring Kyrie Irving come training camp because you have new young players that are impressionable. You have a new team that effect on just everything. Like Kyrie can implode your team if he's not happy. He's sitting out all that. How are you supposed to build chemistry? How are you supposed to build that team camaraderie? How are you supposed to, know what your plays are, what your skill sets are, what are your schemes? Like, how are you supposed to do all that when one of your best players doesn't want to play? I don't think it works out. Yeah, and that's why I don't think that'll ever happen. I just don't see a scenario where Brooklyn would want Kyle Lowry. Like the whole reason that they want the Lakers to take Joe Harris, is because they want to clear up cap space. They don't want to go backwards. You got a bad contract in Kyle Lowry, a guy who's been injured regularly the last few years. It's just, he's older. Like, I just, at least with Westbrook, the money falls off you only have to deal with Westbrook for a year. Or you could do the John Wall route and just have him sit. Like, say Kevin Durant's like, I'm not going to play with Westbrook. Okay, fine. Then you just have him sit for a year. It sucks. You got to eat the salary. But now you have $50 million in cap space the next season. But if you have Kyle Lowry, there goes all your cap space. Now you have a team of Kyle Lowry, Kevin Durant, and Ben Simmons for the next 4 years. Is that the team you really want? I don't think so. I don't think KD, if he was to stay, want Kyle Lowry. It's different if he's getting traded to the Miami Heat and you have Jimmy Butler and you have Bam Adebayo, and if you can find a way to keep Kyle Lowry, then okay, fine. But it's different when Kyle Lowry is your number 2 guy. It's a big difference. You think KD and AD would be scary? I do, absolutely. I mean, because you'd have the inside-out game. Both can do a lot of the same things. That would be quite the duo. Absolutely. That team would be ridiculous. What else? We know KD loves LA too. Yeah, very true, very true. Chet Holmgren will grow into his body in 4 years, playing at 122 pounds. He'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, I absolutely believe that he's going to bulk up a little bit. I absolutely believe that, he's going to be I just want to make sure there wasn't any breaking news or nothing. I got an alert. So I was like, uh-oh. Yeah, like I fully believe he's going to grow into his body and stuff. And his skill set's there. I have concerns, like, but you always have those concerns with a guy of his stature, of his size. We've seen more of them fail than work out. But I do think he's a guy that has the potential to be a monster. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 low, how upset would you be if Lakers do not land Kyrie because of one additional draft pick 8 years from now? I mean, if that's what holds it up, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be pretty upset. I'd probably be at like an 8. But like if they just can't come to a deal and it has nothing to do with draft picks, or say Kevin Durant stays with the Lakers and then Kyrie's like, all right, fine, I'll write it out for you. In that case, it'd probably be like a 1. Like let it happen. You save all your assets, go make another trade to upgrade your roster now, and let's see what we got. I mean, it sucks, but I don't think that they would be a contender, but you never know. I mean, people forget we were an AD away from beating the Phoenix Suns. If he didn't get injured, the Lakers are likely in the finals back-to-back years. Would they have beaten the Bucks? I don't know. But I mean, you can make an argument. So I can't rule out an Anthony Davis that's just being that top 3 to 5 guy in the league. If he can be that, if he can get back to being that guy that's like, is this guy the best player in the league? Like, if he can get back to that, then I think the Lakers have a chance. And I do believe LeBron has like one more legendary, iconic finals run in him. So if they could get to the playoffs and like make some noise, depending on matchup stuff like that, I could see them carrying the team. And then depending on how Westbrook fits in that role, I think it could make sense. But I'm not like super optimistic about it. Like don't get me wrong. Lakers will Kyrie will be a Laker. Don't worry. I really believe that too. I think sooner or later. I think it's a matter of when, not if. I think he will be. Who's your favorite to win it all next season? I know the Celtics is an easy answer, but I want to hear what you think. Go Celtics. I don't know. I would still say Milwaukee right now. I still think Milwaukee was a healthy Middleton away from being in the finals again and likely winning the finals. Because I think they would have been a much better matchup than what Boston was against the Warriors. But as it stands now, no pun intended. I'd probably take the Bucks. Or if Philly can get James Harden, that's a pretty scary team if they can be. I just don't know if James Harden still has it in him. But yeah, I would probably say Milwaukee. Celtics are up there too. I'd probably put Celtics number 2 on that list as far as like at least the Eastern Conference side. I think the Suns are going to implode this year. I really do. Because they did not want Ayton. Ayton did not want to play there. Chris Paul's only a year older. They're not going to be able to go and get a Kevin Durant that's going to solve all their problems. They're not as deep. I just think the Suns are going to implode. I don't think they're going to like miss the playoffs or anything, but I could see them being like another second round exit this year, and maybe like the 3 seed, something like that. I don't have a lot of faith, but we'll see how things shake up. Ask me this question again in like a month. We'll see. Absolutely not with the Lakers. With another team with low expectations, then yes, he's a problem. I'm assuming you're talking about Kyrie Irving. Yeah, if Kyrie goes to the Lakers, I have no concerns that he will be okay. I mean, there's obviously questions. There's obviously risk in it. But I just think if you look at it from every perspective, you have Kyrie Irving, who loves LA, wants to be a Laker, is obsessed with Kobe. You have LeBron James. You have a proven formula in LeBron James. If LeBron wasn't there, I would have concerns. I'd probably say, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that. But LeBron James being there, I think, yeah, you can make the argument. Bro, Russ sucks, period. He is not that dude. He has never been that dude. You just weren't watching closely. Okay, right. Because he's a Hall of Famer, top 75 player, has broken an insane amount of records in the NBA, has been an absolute engine and motor. Come on. I understand, the hate, but come on. You got to be realistic at some point. Come on. He's that dude. He's been that dude. Let's put it like this. Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan both said Russell Westbrook is arguably the closest thing to them. So who's watching more closely? You think your opinion means more than Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's? Just saying, something to think about. Do you think the Lakers have their secondary trade in place after they do the Kyrie trade? Based on Jeannie's interview, it appears more moves are to come. Yes, so I am pretty confident that a trade beyond Kyrie is going to happen one way or another. I really think, if assuming the reports are true, that the holdup is that second round draft pick. I believe the Lakers don't want to give that second round draft pick because they have something in place already to go get Buddy Hield. That's what I think is going to end up happening. I think it's very likely the Lakers end up with Kyrie and Buddy Hield this season. There's also the Patrick Beverley thing, stuff like that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it shapes up, but I definitely think whether they get Kyrie or not, more trades are coming. With at least half the teams in this league. Yeah, I agree with that. But you got to understand, half the teams in this league have a point guard, stuff like that. Like Westbrook is a very specific guy. Like he's a guy you have to build your team around and your system. At this point in his career, I don't think he's that is going to be able to do that anymore. But I think if you put him on a team like the Knicks, I think he could lead the Knicks to the playoffs. Like, because you're gonna have that high engine motor, you got a scorer in Brunson, you got a guy in RJ Barrett that he can assist to. Like, I think there's only so many teams that he could be a part of. But yeah. How does Vogel's rotation explain missing wide open layups, wide open dunks, brick shots off the backboard, playing zero defense, and turning over the ball for absolutely no reason? Like I said, he has not without fault. But if you talk about that, weren't you the one that said earlier that you need to be watching closely? This comment shows me that you don't watch closely. In the NBA, everything is about, rhythm, getting in a flow, getting in this, getting in that. If you, as a player, or especially as a star player that has done nothing his whole career but have the ball in his hands and score, get to the basket, all of that stuff, right? He's had pretty decent efficiency most of his career. When you go from that to standing in the corner for 10 minutes at a time, and then all of a sudden you have the ball and you have to run downhill, he hasn't gotten into the feel and the flow of the game. You got to understand there's levels to playing. Like, why do you think NBA players are cold? Like, we've seen iconic shooters go like stretches of games where they're cold, because they need to get in that rhythm. They need to see the ball go in the hoop, stuff like that. Westbrook, don't get me wrong, he drove me crazy with the amount of layups and things like that go into it. But when you have a coach that hates you, when you have a coach that doesn't believe in you, when you have a coach that doesn't buy into you and is doing you no favors, and you are relegated to being a guy that stands in the corner most of the game, and you lose the ball in your hands and you lose everything, it is really hard to go from 0 to 100 instantly. That's what I'm saying. So, watch more closely, as you put it, right? The only teams that would accept Russell Westbrook are bad teams, ironically. Those are places where Russ has the best numbers statistically. I mean, like I said, he could do well on a mid-tier team, depending on what that team is. And like I said, I like the Knicks. I think he would fare pretty well with the Knicks, personally. I do. I think he would be a pretty solid addition to the Knicks. Just because, he's a guy, he could have the ball, he could do his thing, he could run his sets, all of that stuff. So, yes, very true. I'm with you. What's going on, Lionheart Fitness? Appreciate you being here. What else? Will ruin the NBA. 30% of fans would stop watching, especially non-fans. Speaking of hell, soft move. 80, 2 first-round picks for Katie. Would you do that? Without Kyrie, no. If we could get Kyrie in the deal, yes. Because then you'd still have LeBron and you'd still have Westbrook. And I think that's the problem. You have LeBron and Westbrook. They just don't work together. I don't think it solves the problem. Now, if you could get Kyrie in that deal, then yes, I would do that. Because then you'd have LeBron, Kyrie, and you'd have KD. But understood. Kyle Lowry is a much better and more productive player, though, especially on a winning team without his injuries, of course. No, absolutely. I love Kyle Lowry. I think Kyle Lowry is great. I just think he's at the tail end of his career, And he's on a bad contract. If his contract was a better contract, I think more teams would be willing to take him back. But you got him locked in for years. There's already questions with him, all that stuff. He is a solid guy. Like, he is a solid player. He is a winning player too. But it's just a bad contract. And I just think the Nets, they wouldn't want to take on a contract like that. Like I said, the whole reason that they want to get rid of Joe Harris is to alleviate cap space. So Pat Riley may get desperate. I mean, it's always possible, but he's always been pretty good about that stuff. He really has. So, Kyrie to LA, I'm with you. I'm with it. No worries, DM. We're still going strong here. Probably go about another like 45 minutes, hour or so. Lakers are waiting too long to pull the trigger on Kyrie. Pat Riley will swipe him up. I mean, for all we know, the deal is really good. I mean, it was rumored that it was going around. I still think that there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Neither team has to rush. I don't think Pat Riley and the Heat would want Kyrie. He just doesn't fit like their culture and their standard and things like that. I could see that being a total disaster, especially Kyrie. And you think Jimmy Butler is going to be happy that Kyrie Irving, a guy who never wants to play, is on that team? I think that would be a nightmare. I could see Jimmy Butler going to Pat Riley and say, "No, you're not doing this." I just don't think he fits the Miami culture. We got a KD trade coming. This has to mean Phoenix is waiting to trade from KD January. I mean, it's very possible. I don't know. It's tough. I think that trade basically rules it out, because here's the thing: if you have KD till January and you guys are competitive and you're already in that, like, you might as well just keep him unless you get like a ridiculous offer. Let's say the Nets, let's say best case scenario for the Nets, KD and Kyrie come back and they buy in for a year, and Ben Simmons comes back and he's Philly Ben Simmons, and they are like the 3 seed or 2 seed or something like that in the Eastern Conference. And it's like, why would you trade KD at that point? You might as well finish out the year with him. That would be my big concern. Does this mean Phoenix will trade for KD in January? Yeah. So yeah, basically, like I was saying, I don't see that scenario taking place. I just don't. I don't see it. The boys, I love the boys reference. Thank you. Yes, that was great when she said. I don't want to spoil it for people that maybe haven't seen it, but yeah, that's a great reference. I like it. If I'm betting, DeAndre Ayton will be a Pacer by Saturday. No, it was already reported by Woj that the Suns matched DeAndre Ayton. They didn't even hesitate. What else we got? Do you think DA will have any trade value? Come January, yes. I still believe that there are teams that want DeAndre Ayton. I think the problem was the Kevin Durant thing just basically put the entire league on freeze. Because, there were teams like Detroit and stuff like that wanted him. And I think that they ended up, drafting stuff like that, and they kind of played themselves out of it. But I do think he was a guy that would have had more suitors if Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving didn't happen, because I think everybody just was kind of waiting, like, what's going to happen here. And teams that had salary cap, they wanted to wait around. Like, if I could get some free assets in this and then still sign DeAndre Ayton, why wouldn't I? So let's wait and see what develops. You know what I mean? What else? Hey, it might have lost it, but MJ and Kobe said it themselves. I don't think Westbrook's anywhere near Kobe and MJ, but they said what they said. So don't blame me. Go talk to Kobe and Jordan. DA's son still. Yes, so the Suns matched. Trade THT and Nunn for Clarkson and Beverly. I mean, the problem is that, like, do you really trade THT? I just feel like you get a better package for THT, especially if he balls out this year, because people forget, again, recency bias. He broke his hand before the season began. That affects your shooting, your dribbling, your ball handling. That affects everything, your defense, all of that stuff. So I just like Patrick Beverley's a 34-year-old. Like, do you want to do if you could get a first round pick in that deal, then yes. Like if you could get, say THT, hey, we're taking on a 34-year-old expiring guy that, isn't going to make us a contender either way. You're getting a 21-year-old guy who has mileages in this NBA, has shown promise. He's younger than half the people that were drafted in this draft. Like, if they could get a first round pick out of it, then yes, I would do that, just because you could probably take that pick and now you could get Kyrie or, the Buddy Hield thing, or maybe both still, because you'd have 3 first rounds to work with, stuff like that. So, as cute as hype man, I know he is. He's awesome. I appreciate it. How credible is this July 17th announcement? I wouldn't put too much stock into it because it's just, rumors, just like anything. Nothing's official until it's official, but it makes a lot of sense because you have Summer League. All the talk on everything right now is about the NBA Summer League. That's all everyone is talking about. That's what the NBA wants to showcase. That's what they want to highlight. They get ad revenue, they get TV spots, all of this stuff, right? So any big deal that's going to change the narrative, you would think they would want to prolong till after Summer League. So that's where the July 17th word is coming from, is that nothing's going to happen or be finalized until after Summer League. And I mean, if you think about it, outside of the Ayton thing, nothing has happened since the beginning of Las Vegas Summer League. So from nothing has happened. The only thing that happened was Gallinari finally went to the Celtics, but that was something we knew about for, a month, right? Like after that trade happened. So literally nothing has happened since Summer League started. And I don't think that that's by coincidence. I think once Summer League ends, we're going to hear a bunch of stuff, like little trades, all the big trades, things like that. We got some major thunder here. I was at one of the Phoenix team's YouTube channels, and they confirmed they already matched the Pacers offer. Yes, that is true. Yes, Woj announced that about, I don't know, an hour ago now, something like that he matched it. Where do you think KD ends up? I think it's very likely going to be either with the Nets. I think he either stays with the Nets because they can't get a trade offer that they find feasible. Or at this point, it's probably the Raptors or the Warriors. I think those are the only 2 teams that could make a deal done. But I think at this point, it's looking more and more like KD is going to end up being a Net next year. But we'll see. I hope we get Kyrie and lose Brook. Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. What else we got? I don't know why so many people make excuses for Russ. He has not added anything to his game in all these years he's been in the league. Like I said, I'm not saying Westbrook is the greatest player ever, but he's still a solid guy. Like, none of this conversation happened until he went to the Lakers. Like, when he was in the Wizards, like, all he was a highlight reel, and people were talking how great it was. That was a year ago. And because he went to the Lakers, everyone has this recency bias. The narrative for Westbrook was not this when he was on OKC, back in what was it, 2013 or something like that? There was entire petitions and stuff about Westbrook and AD coming to the Lakers. Like, people, I don't know if people just aren't old enough or what, but I'm not saying Westbrook is the perfect player. I'm not saying Westbrook is without fault. He absolutely is. But the Westbrook hate is ridiculous. I mean, people blame like Westbrook was the only problem. Like, if you just got rid of Westbrook, the Lakers would have won a championship last year. No, the Lakers were terrible last year with or without Westbrook. And it was a lot more than just Westbrook, so that's the thing. So you haven't heard Westbrook in his press conference say that Frank Vogel hated him and all that. I see all your comments in the chat, but they're all very one-sided. It's like you read an article 6 months ago and you think you know everything that's going on with Westbrook. It's silly. It's goofy. Lowry is so old. Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, if he had a better contract, I think he'd be much more tradable. I really do. Yeah. Do we think Kyrie for Russ is over? I personally don't think so. I think it's still very likely to happen, but you never know. I mean, if KD ends up staying with the Nets, then yeah, it's very possible that Kyrie could end up staying too. Um, okay, like I really wanted Kyrie Irving to go to the Lakers and Kevin Durant to go to the Suns because that Western Conference matchup between the Warriors, the Suns, the Lakers, and the Clippers would have been fantastic. I mean, seriously, that would have been fantastic. I would have loved that. So yeah, I it sucks that KD's probably not going to the Suns now, but if Kyrie does go to the Lakers, it's gonna be a great Western Conference. You're convincing me that Pat Riley may not actually want Curry. I don't think he would. I don't think it makes sense given the structure, the organization, all the stipulations that they have in place as an organization. Like I said, they have an entire like you have to pass this physical that only the Miami Heat have because they want their players at a certain body fat and all this stuff. Like it's crazy. If they do get Kyrie, I see them winning a championship. I think so too. I mean, I think they're at least legit contenders. I mean, you if they get Kyrie Irving, you can make an argument they're the best team in the league. It just like does everyone buy in? And injuries. If everyone stays healthy, Anthony Davis becomes that guy again, and then you end up getting LeBron James being LeBron and doing LeBron James things. Yeah, I think that nobody wants to see the Lakers. The Lakers would be ridiculous. Um, I think realistically, in closed doors with other teams, Lakers need to show Russ as expiring contract. It definitely helps teams consider cancer. Well, I mean, that was the whole thing that they were doing for. That's where the like the Hornets deal, the Pacers deal, all of that stuff. That's where that all came from. Was because he's a huge expiring contract, um, and I do think there's value in his contract. Like, not many teams would want to trade for the player right now, but a lot of teams would want to trade for his contract to free up cap space, stuff like that. I do think Russ has trade value. I think there are teams that would take him on, especially like come trade deadline stuff like that. But I do. I think it'll be interesting to see how this all shapes up. Um, AD needs to just wake the f up. I'm with you. He does. If I'm telling you, if even if we end up keeping Westbrook, if Anthony Davis is like that top five guy in the league that we know he can be, that they still have a chance. They still have at least at worst case they have a puncher's chance, right? I mean, LeBron and Anthony Davis just being monsters. I think that's a pretty solid team. Um, I don't know. I mean, with everything they have, I do think they need some more shooting. Like if they get Kyrie and they get Buddy Hield, that's a home run, in my opinion. Especially if you can work out to where you get Seth or even Joe Harris. At that point, I think they do. But I mean, Kyrie, with all the young guys, they got all the defensive guys, they got a bunch of young guys. I think a lot of those guys, as poorly as they shot, because the statistics, if you take all their numbers this season, they'd be the worst team in the league shooting wise from three. But I think a lot of their numbers are going to go up because a lot of these guys are going to get looks that they have never gotten in their careers because they have Anthony Davis and LeBron James on their team. And whether it's Westbrook or it's Kyrie, they still have them on their team as well. So I do think the shooting percentages will go up for a lot of these guys. I don't think any of them are going to be, 40% 3-point shooters. But if you get a guy like Buddy Hield, and you get a guy like Kyrie, and everybody can kind of just be league average with their youth, athleticism, defense, all of that stuff. Yeah, I think you're a contender. Um, so there was who is it? Marks. Yeah, Bobby Marks is the one I believe that made the report of like a potential four-team trade. It originally came from somebody else. I don't remember who it was off the top of my head. But yeah, it was reported that it'd be Katie, Mitchell, Simmons. So like Ben Simmons goes to Utah, Katie goes to. I think I have the image on the thumbnail for this video. But yeah, basically Katie goes to the would go to the Suns. Jazz get Simmons, but now the problem is I don't think that happens because Ayton and Miles Turner were part of that trade too. Um, so now what happens with Miles Turner? I think it comes down to what do the Pacers want to do? Do they want to ride him out for a year and then let him go be a free agent, or do they want to recoup assets? I think it's very likely that they trade Miles Turner, and he ends up going to a team that maybe would want. He would definitely have some suitors. There was a report from Aston. Um, I was trying to look for it again before I got here. It popped up on like my news feed or whatever, and it was like as soon as the announcement for Ayton happened, and it said that the Pacers already have a deal lined up for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, and the only team that's been reported to have that is the Lakers. So I wonder if that has some legs to it. But I was trying to find it again, and I haven't been able to find it. Granted, I only looked for like a couple, like 30 seconds before I came on the stream, but I was trying to find that again because I didn't actually read the full report. I just kind of saw the headline. So if that's true, then hey, we'll see. When are those trades happening in the NBA? I mean, you never really have a specific date. The word on the street is that it's July 17th. Whether that actually happens or not, we'll find out. Well, it'd be after July 17th. So, I mean, it could happen like the night of the 17th, but very likely it'll be like a day or two after. So, very likely, if these deals start happening, probably within the next week is when we'll probably start seeing this stuff. But we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. Again, I don't want to, no promises, but, you know, what else we got? They're saying that since Ayton signed an offer sheet instead of a sign and trade, his base salary of $60 million will only be available to go towards a KD trade instead of $35 million. Yes, but they can't. So the problem with that is like one, you can't. So they can't trade Ayton until January, and Ayton has veto power for the rest of the season on any trade. So if he doesn't want to go to the Nets, or if he doesn't want to go to another team or something like that, like say they work out a 3-team deal, and he doesn't want to go to that team, then yeah, well, one, they wouldn't be able to do anything until January, and he could just say no, So that there's a lot of complications that go into that. Do you think the possibility of Kyrie Irving coming to the Lakers has lessened since the news about the Donovan mission trade rumors? Could we possibly get Mike Conley, Pat Bev, or Bogdan? I don't think it's lessened because I think there's more to the Kyrie Irving trade than just like, the trade like Kyrie wants to come to Lakers. I think the Nets want to get rid of him too. I mean, the Nets made that clear, right? They didn't want to extend him. There was all the reports. Sean Marks met with the Lakers to talk before any of this even happened. He sat down and talked with the Lakers about a potential trade. They had like dinner and stuff together, and they talked and all the reports came out and stuff. Like the writing's been on the walls that the Nets just want to get rid of their Kyrie Irving problem. So I think that's pretty interesting in and of itself. So I don't think that I think because of that, the deal's not likely dead. I don't think the Nets want Kyrie on their team come training camp. But I mean, if Kevin Durant doesn't get traded and say, KD talks to Kyrie and says, hey, let's ride it out for a year and then go sign with the Lakers. I mean, anything's possible. But as far as the Lakers, I would not want them to go get Mike Conley because the problem is his contract, another bad contract. Pat Bev makes a lot of sense. Plus, he's on a $13 million expiring deal. Bogdan would be a nice pickup, but again, salary. I'd have to look at his deal. I don't know how many years he has on his contract off the top of my head, but Patrick Beverley makes a lot of sense for the Lakers. Mike Conley doesn't make any, although I've always been a fan of Mike Conley. I just think the Lakers want to preserve that cap space because they got to re-sign LeBron. They got to sign Kyrie, assuming he comes to the Lakers next season, which I think he would. And then whatever else you need to put around for your team to keep your team a contender. As a Laker fan, which one hurt more? 2004 losing to the underdog Pistons team or 2008 losing to the rival Sixers? 2008, that was easy. So the Pistons underdog Pistons team, like that was simply injuries. I mean, the Lakers would have, as dysfunctional and messed up as that team was, if Karl Malone didn't get hurt, also you had Shaq who was like on one leg in that series, all of that stuff. If everyone wasn't hurt going into the finals, I think the Lakers win that championship. But the 2008 Celtics, I think was just the fashion. It's just the history, the Celtics, going up against the Celtics. I mean, even Kobe said his the one that hurt the most was 2008. But yeah, I just think 2008. I think 2004 was just circumstances. There was just a lot of things in play that went into that. I think you get a healthy Karl Malone, they win that series because Karl Malone was killing it for the Lakers before he got injured. And then the Pistons, I give them credit. I mean they were a solid team. But yeah. What's going on, Jedi? What have I lost so far? Nothing. Nothing. We're just talking, answering questions, having fun, all of that stuff. But yeah, so if you have a question, anybody that's watching this, if you have a question, leave it in the chat. I'm trying to get through all of them in order. If you want me to answer your question immediately, super chats go to the front of the line. So if you have a question or just something you want me to show, then yes, leave it that way. Summer League is an illusion. I think Kings are going to wish they picked Jaden Ivey and not Keegan Murray. That's just my belief. I mean, Keegan Murray looks nice, but I never put too much in the Summer League. Like Summer League is always that thing where it's just like, we've seen a lot of guys just absolutely kill in Summer League, and then they get to the league and they're terrible. So you never want to put too much in the Summer League, but Keegan Murray looks really nice. And Jaden looks great too, but Keegan's been on a tear, man. But we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Let's go Lakers. Love it. I love it. Thank you. Do you think if LeBron and KD swapped and LeBron won it all with the Nets, then when KD couldn't, would he be the undisputed GOAT? So here's the thing. I don't think there's a thing LeBron could do to make him the undisputed GOAT. I really don't. I just think that, you have too many people that are on the Jordan wagon. And it's just, I think LeBron could win the next 5 championships and people would still say, well, he lost 4, like I just don't think it'll ever happen. I personally think from just a pure basketball standpoint, if you're just talking a pure basketball standpoint, LeBron James is the greatest player that has ever played. Just from pure basketball. I mean, most people put Magic Johnson in their top 5 all time. LeBron James is a bigger, faster, stronger, more skilled Magic Johnson. I mean, he's incredible. He's gonna be the only player in history to be top 5 in assists, rebounds, all-time scoring leader, playoffs. I mean, the guy is monstrous. I mean, he's literally the player that you build in 2K to cheat and get all the accolades in the game. Like LeBron is insane, and and that's the thing. And I'm old enough to have seen Jordan play and LeBron, see all that. Maybe I'll do like a video one day, just diving in and breaking that all down, because there's a lot that went into Jordan outside of Jordan. Outside of just Jordan being great. Jordan was great. He lived up to the hype, but there was a lot that went into it. The most annoying thing about the West is that he behaves like a 5th grader. He mocks Lakers fan, but we cannot say anything because he gets mad. Also in his head, he cannot be benched or called out. No, look, Westbrook is not without his faults for sure. He is definitely a guy that has his issues. That is very passionate, to put it nicely. But he's still a solid player. He still believes he's that number 1 guy. I don't think he's the number 1 guy anymore. I don't think he's ever really been the number 1 guy, but he is still he's a Hall of Famer. Like, the guy is incredible. A couple things about Westbrook. He doesn't acknowledge his part of the problem, never wants to change or adapt. I do agree with that. I do agree. But he did sacrifice a lot last year. I mean, he tried in many ways. He just got fed up with it, and like I said, nobody did him any favors. I don't have a problem with people criticizing Westbrook on what happened last season, because I don't think he's without fault. But it's just like everyone just thinks Westbrook was the only problem. Like, everyone thinks like if we just got rid of Westbrook, we would have won the NBA championship last year. But it wasn't that. I mean, Frank Vogel's rotations were terrible. His schemes were terrible. As a defensive-minded coach, we had 0 defense. The roster was old. I mean, it was just a terrible season for the Lakers. and Westbrook became the scapegoat. That's all it was. It was like, well, Westbrook's on the team and he's terrible and all this stuff. But, watch. What are people going to say if Westbrook goes? Let's say Westbrook goes back. Let's say he goes to the Spurs in a 3-team deal. The Spurs buy him out like it's reported. Westbrook goes back to Washington and he becomes a 30-point triple-double guy again. What, everyone's going to keep saying he's trash? Like, no, the guy, we know what Westbrook is. And that's the problem. You can't go and trade for a guy when you know what he is. You know what to expect. You know everything that's going to happen. And then when it happens, you're like, oh, man, I can't believe this guy. Like, why did you trade him for him then? Like, you knew what the result was going to be. You knew what he was. You knew the type of player he was, the mentality he had. You knew everything about him. It wasn't a shock. It wasn't a surprise. Like, it just everybody knew it. It just, LeBron and Anthony Davis wanted Russell Westbrook. So Rob Pelinka was like, here you go. Here's your guy. Keep up the good work. Kyrie becomes a Laker. California is going to go nuts. Maybe another flat earthquake prefers. See what I did there? Yeah, I love it. And thank you so much. Yeah, I do. I really do still think the trade goes through. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I never rule anything out because you never really know. But personally, I think it's a done deal. Yes, we do have ample time. So, I mean, like I said, we have until September before the offseason's over. So there's still a lot of time. What team do you think would trade for KD, though? Problem is, I think the pool is getting smaller and smaller. I think the only teams that could really make a deal that would be satisfactory for KD to the Nets are the Pelicans, the Warriors, and the Raptors. I just don't think the Raptors would want to trade what they would have to go get Kevin Durant. I don't know if the Warriors would trade what they want to go get Kevin Durant. The Pelicans could give, Brandon Ingram and like 10 first-round draft picks and go get that. But, the problem is the biggest problem with Brooklyn is they can't tank. So they need a package. They're in a very unique situation. Like where Utah, like they want to tank because they have their draft picks. They have all that stuff. So you trade Donovan Mitchell, you get a couple good players, and you get a bunch of draft picks. But if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you can't, like, any team that that's the problem too. So like, because Kevin Durant's going to make any of those teams that he goes to a contender. So now you're not getting lottery picks, you're getting picks that are going to be in the high, teens or 20s. And so now like you get no good draft picks. You can't tank because you don't have any draft picks to tank. It's a very unique situation for the Brooklyn Nets. They can't just trade Kevin Durant to a team that, like the Knicks. The Knicks have 22 picks. Like the Knicks could say, hey, take 18 of them. Here you go. Here's 18 and RJ Barrett. And could do that. Like, but it makes no sense for Brooklyn because they can't tank. Nobody wants Kyrie's drama anyway. So I told that he was determined Kyrie doesn't want Kyrie to come over. So either Kyrie sits out the entire season or is bought out. Yeah, exactly. I don't see Kyrie being a Net next year. Dude, Sai said himself in an interview, he said, I would rather have a team that wins 40 games a season and I'm proud of than the team I have now. That's crazy. That's crazy. LeBron ain't leaving. LeBron ain't going anywhere, especially if you get Kyrie. It's very possible. They could very well keep Russ. I don't rule that out entirely. I just don't think the Brooklyn Nets want Kyrie Irving. I just don't think so. LeBron and Kyrie are dangerous together, and you add AD to that. Yeah, it's insane. Kyrie and LeBron won an NBA championship with Kevin Love. AD is basically Kevin Love on steroids. Literally, he's like the ampled Kevin Love. It's insane to me. It really is. It's insane. Suns had to match the offer for Indiana. No way they're going through the season started with Biyombo. Sorry, ACL injury. Yeah, they had no choice. They were put in a position to, you match it or you lose them for nothing, and now you're in shambles. Like, yeah. Why are the Lakers valuing two very distant first-round picks? I don't think they are. They're going to trade the first-round picks. I just think that they don't want to trade both first-round picks because they want to go get Buddy Hield. because even with Kyrie, you still like your only shooter on your team is Kyrie Irving. Like, so they want to go get an Eric Gordon or a Buddy Hield or something like that. If you give up both first rounds, you don't get that. Not just that, but there's a lot of concerns. As much as I don't think anything will happen, a lot of concerns and risks if you're the Lakers, right? I mean, what if LeBron leaves? What if LeBron gets hurt? I mean, with his age, knock on wood. What if Kyrie becomes Kyrie again? What if Kyrie leaves? What happens? There's so many things that could happen that there's a lot of risks that go into the deal. I don't think the Lakers care about the first round picks. They just want a deal that's worth it. And they don't have anybody to compete with. It's not like, they're negotiating and the Mavs are in it and they're like, yeah, we want Kyrie too. Nobody else wants Kyrie Irving. So it's like, do you want to keep Kyrie and lose him for nothing? And we'll sign him next season and we'll just take all of our assets and go get a Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. And we're at least in the conversation. We might not actually be a contender, but we're at least in the conversation. And then we'll just sign Kyrie outright. And then we'll have a team of Kyrie Irving, Buddy Hield, LeBron James, Miles Turner, and Anthony Davis. Or we make this deal. We'll give you a first-round pick. We'll give you a pick swap. Maybe we'll throw in a second-round pick. I think what will end up happening is when the trade is official and it actually comes out, it'll probably be a happy compromise. It'll probably be like either the Lakers will give up both first and they end up getting Seth Curry also. So it'll be like, Westbrook, both firsts, and then like, Harris, Seth, and Kyrie, something along those lines. And then, Lakers give up like winning Gabriel or something like that just to make salaries match, stuff like that. I think that'll probably be something along those lines. What's going on, Jack? Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. First time to your channel. What is your favorite teams? My favorite team is the Lakers. So like I grew up in LA, born and raised in LA, grew up Laker fan my whole life. Diehard Laker fan. Dodgers. I'm not like the biggest baseball fan in the world, but I do root for the Dodgers. Again, LA team. Football, I've never had a favorite football team. It's probably why I'm pretty good at sports betting when it comes to football because I don't have any biases. But yeah, I've never had a favorite NFL team. I've always had like favorite like players and stuff, but I've never had like that favorite team that like, I root for every time. But yeah, so outside of that, hockey, I live in Vegas now, so it's like, the Vegas Knights, it's cool. I've been to a couple games, stuff like that. But outside of the Lakers, I'm not like really diehard for anybody. But I try to keep as biased of a perspective as possible, especially with content creating. I feel like it's a duty that I have to have. Jeanine was interviewed by NBA and told more trades are coming. Yes, she backed up Rob Pelinka, so more trades should be coming for sure. If AD plays his maximum and LeBron being at his peak with Westbrook, they won't beat Warriors. He self-destructs the team. Watch him for the last 5 years. It's very, very likely. But Westbrook has shown a lot of good signs. He was there for Ham's presser. Darvin Ham, in the interview, got asked, what are you going to do with Westbrook? So the Lakers like their deal. Darvin Ham seems very confident, and granted, he's a good salesman, so maybe that's what it is. There's a lot of things that go into it. I mean, if they buy into him, if Westbrook buys in, then, who knows? Who knows what will happen? I just I don't think he will because, I mean, you can't keep teaching old dog new tricks. But, I mean, what if Lakers end up stuck with Westbrook? What else do you have to do other than be optimistic, Yes, the Phoenix Suns matched the offer. That is correct. The Wizards would take Westbrook back in a heartbeat. So would the fans. The Wizards loved Westbrook. Like that was a big thing. Like people were upset that Westbrook got traded from the Wizards. Thank you so much, all the way from the Philippines. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Lakers for life. Yes. And for all the Laker fans that are in this stream, I actually have a link in the description. I also have another channel that I started recently called As It Stands Lakers, where I basically go into all the ins and outs with the Lakers stuff. Because this channel, I try to talk about all sports. We're just in the heart of NBA season, but football season's right around the corner. We'll talk some football, stuff like that. So I want to talk about various things on this channel. But I did start an individual As It Stands Lakers. There is a link in the description of this video. If you go over there and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. I'm almost at, I think, 600 subs. If I could get to 1,000 subs, that would be beautiful. I'd really appreciate all of you. We got 300 and 50 people in this stream. If you guys all go and subscribe to that channel, then guess what? I would be monetized there too, and I'd appreciate that. That would be awesome. But nonetheless, I appreciate all of you here regardless. Thank you all for hanging out with me. I'm going to start winding down here a little bit. I still got a ton of comments. Anybody that, if you want me to answer a question immediately or something like that, super chats get #1 priority over everything. Otherwise, I'm just going to continue to go in order, probably go for about another 20 minutes, and then I'm going to skate out of here, and we'll do another one of these live streams very soon. But let's get into this. Let's keep this going. The Pacers will not trade away Buddy Hield to the Lakers. Have no one the Pacers wouldn't want. I mean, that's what you think. There's a reason that the Lakers and the Pacers keep getting brought up in trades. Usually when a trade is dead, it's dead. You don't hear about it ever again. There's a lot of things that go into that. And we keep hearing the Pacers get brought up time and time and time again. And it's usually centered around Buddy Hield. So there's got to be something to that, but do you think it's a possibility we can get Kai, Seth, and Harris? Yes. I mean, if I think it's very possible that could kind of be the mixture. You get kind of like the happy medium. You get like the 2 first-round picks, stuff like that, and then that trades for that. That might get you Seth, Harris, and then Kai. I think it's very likely that some form or another, that's kind of what it'll be. I really do think both sides are probably going to find that happy compromise, that happy medium. I remember when we used to compare AD to Giannis. We need that to be the conversation again. I agree. Absolutely. I think he needs to get back. If he could get back to being that guy, I think he's in that conversation again. But we'll see. That 4-trade deal was a pipe dream line deal. Absolutely. I didn't make it up. I mean, talk to the people that put it out. Pacers don't want Westbrook that we know of. You're almost at 500 views. I know we've had quite the turnout on this live stream, and I'm very blessed. I'm very thankful. This is only my second live stream on this channel, and to have basically 300 people the entire time. I hit 500 at one point. I think I hit 502 at one point, which is pretty awesome. So I'm very thankful. Thank you all for hanging out with me. It's really cool. It's awesome. What if Batman explains why cops don't go after him and reveals himself to be Homelander? It says he can really do it. That'd be fantastic. AD and JHT from Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, LOL. Okay. So now we're trolling. Got it. What else we got? Lakers did this 3 years in a row, not being aggressive, and may cost them Kyrie. I wouldn't say 3 years in a row because last year we had the old guys. The year before that, we had the team like the Lakers, Rob Pelinka, everybody. Like the Lakers were favored to win the title. They upgraded their team heavily. They were voted by the league as the team that upgraded the most. Rob Pelinka was like GM of the year. Like everyone was praising him and all that stuff. And we were an Anthony Davis injury away from beating the Suns and being in the finals. I think that, you are what you've most recently done, right? That's how it always is, especially when it comes to sports. It's like, what have you done for me lately? But yeah, I wouldn't say that because and then, the first year we won an NBA championship. We were about as aggressive as it gets. We went and got Anthony Davis. They should trade Westbrook and grab Kyrie. Absolutely. If they can do that, that'd be great. Pacers are stacked. Well, they didn't get Ayton, so I don't know how stacked they are anymore. But I think with Ayton, that would have been solid. Here we go. AD is washed. I'm not a player that ages well. I said this start of last year. We'll see. He's been in the lab. I like to give. I don't like to just count out players, whether they're on the Lakers or not. I like to believe in players. AD is bubblegum champ. Pacers are interested in expiring contracts. If Russ not himself. Not many people realize this. Hence, they are interested in Russ. Thank you. This is what I reiterate time and time and time again. It's not about like Russ the player. I don't know how many times I've said that in like comments and videos and stuff. And even in this live stream, I've said that a couple times. Like people are too focused on Russ the player. Nobody wants Russ the player. No, it's teams don't want to trade for Russ the player. Yeah, you're right. But they want his $47 million expiring contract that frees up your books. If you could get a contract like that, absolutely. All the trades this year were all for cap clearing trades. Like it was like 5 players on expiring deals that you could waive and stuff like that. There is a huge value in cap space. Russell Westbrook has a ton of value because of his cap space, not the player. So that's something we got to keep in mind. Couldn't agree with you more. Well, thank you so much. Love this channel. Well, thank you. I really do appreciate you. And I appreciate all of you for hanging out here. If Steph Curry wins 2 more rings, is he better than Bron all time? I don't think so. I mean, because people put so much into rings and completely ignore that it's a team effort. Like there's a lot that goes into winning an NBA championship. We have seen some of the greatest teams ever assembled never win an NBA championship because there's so much that goes into it. I don't put rings as high as most people. Because if you're talking about if all the conversation, then why isn't Bill Russell considered the greatest player ever? He led his team. He won 11 championships. He won like 8 in a row. Why isn't he ever in the conversation? Because rings aren't. Yes, they're an important factor, but they're not the main factor. So no, I personally don't think so. What are the chances of Benedict Mathurin winning Rookie of the Year this year? I mean, he has a lot of potential, but I don't think I would say pretty low. I still think Paolo is probably going to win it because I think he's going to make the most immediate impact. I think he's the most NBA ready. I think he's the most skilled currently. So I think that's probably where it's going to be. Where do you rank Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady in their primes? Were they top 100 players? Yes, I think so. Where in that? I don't know. I'd really have to break that down and think about it. Probably somewhere in the top, like 50-ish, 50 and above. I mean, Tracy McGrady was a monster. Like Tracy McGrady was something else. I mean, he was. There was times in his career where you could argue he was the best player in the league. He just didn't have a lot of success. Moved around a lot, stuff like that, and then injuries and stuff. Same thing with like Grant Hill. Like Grant Hill was the next Jordan. I mean, like that's what he was compared to Jordan, stuff like that. But Vince Carter I always thought was great, but I just was never like Tracy McGrady was that guy. Vince Carter, I just never thought he was the guy that would lead the team. But yeah, I'd probably put them somewhere 50 and beyond. What else we got? Sorry, just trying to find the stuff that is to me. Great players adapt to different systems for team success. In some cases, some of the greatest players ever never changed systems. Like Michael Jordan played the triangle his whole life. LeBron has always been the system. Kobe played the triangle his whole life. You know what I mean? Like it's not that, I mean, most players that have had major success were all in just one system. So Westbrook could not make shots, open shots. He was not a scapegoat. Here's the thing. Was Westbrook a dead-eye shooter before he came to the Lakers? No. Again, everyone's complaining about Westbrook when everybody knew what Westbrook was. Like, Westbrook didn't do anything out of the ordinary. Westbrook's never been a 35 to 40% free throw or 3-point shooter. Like, he's just never been that. He's never going to be that guy. Like, So why would you relegate him to being in the corner to just shoot 3-pointers? Like, it makes no sense. Is KD to Phoenix gone since they can't trade Ayton until like January? I mean, not entirely, but yes, I think so. Um, I do. I think that in all reality, yes. Yeah, I think that that's the hope for them getting KD is probably over. Um, exactly. That's how I feel too. I'm with you 100%. I just think he's just in a bad fit. He's just in a bad situation. Um, yes, that's correct. So they cannot trade technically because until midnight, the the it's not official. But I mean, we're already almost there. Um, so unless like a sign and trade gets announced in the next like 2 hours, yeah, Ayton will not be able to be traded till January. That is correct. Um, True, Nets can't tank because Rockets own their picks. Exactly. So they have no choice but to play. They have no choice but to put the best team together. And that's the problem. That's what makes the biggest issue is that, the Nets aren't just they can't rebuild. They can't just like in a normal situation, you trade Kyrie for a bunch of picks, you trade KD for a young player and a bunch of picks, and you rebuild. The Nets cannot do that. They're stuck. Um, as a Pacers fan, the only problem with Westbrook is his huge contract. Other than that, I like Russell Westbrook. Yeah, but any trade that they would do for Westbrook, it would be to alleviate cap space. So like like because originally that was the whole report, right? It would have been Buddy Hill, Malcolm Brogdon, stuff like that, because they wanted to get off of their contracts. They have contracts for several years. You ride it with Russ for a year, or you have them sit, or you buy them out, or whatever, and then you just kind of ride it out for a year, see what happens, and then there you go. But we'll see. Um, what else? What else? Trading you for Katie and rest for Kyrie. If that could happen, I would do that 10 times out of 10. I just don't know if that's something that could actually happen. I don't think that that'll actually ever happen. But if it can, if it's something that could work out, I would. Um, the so-called need so much help, but Jordan didn't have help. You realize Jordan won nothing without Scottie Pippen. He didn't. He all the years before Scottie Pippen, he either got swept in the playoffs or he was a first round exit. So, what did Jordan do by himself? Just a thought. Um, I don't see Kyrie leaving. He might not have a choice, even if he wants to stay. The Brooklyn Nets have made it very clear that they do not want him. I mean, the owner himself said he doesn't want Kyrie Irving. Um, if Westbrook was bought out, he'd have at least 5 teams wanting to sign him, at least, maybe even more. The problem isn't Westbrook. The problem is his contract. Like nobody wants to pay $47 million for him. But like I said, there's value in a trade for his contract. But like if a team, like say he was on a 4-year deal, yeah, the Lakers probably would never be able to trade him because nobody wants that $47 million contract for Russell Westbrook. But if you could get Russell Westbrook for like $10 million a year, there are a lot of teams that would probably take Westbrook. Um, let's see. This has been my issue with the Nets over the last decade. Do you know how good we would be if we had all of the picks? We sent Boston. Nets better, highest, bigger for picks. Yeah, I mean, if they would have kept the team that they had before the whole Kevin Durant thing, with Karis LeVert, I mean, they were a fun, young, exciting team. Made the playoffs, all of that stuff. They had a bunch of stuff to like keep that promise, and they blew it all up to go get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and now look where they're at. I mean, Nets. I can't knock the Nets for trying to go all in on multiple occasions. It's just the way that they did it. I mean, like a lot of people knock the Nets for going and getting Paul Pierce, Kevin Durant, and all of that stuff. When they had Darren Williams, Brooke Lopez, and all that stuff. But like the year prior, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like everyone looked really good. So it's like that's the thing. Like that was the idea, was that like, okay, well, they still have enough in the tank. We got Darren Williams, we got Joe Johnson, we got Paul Pierce, we got Kevin Garnett, we got Brooke Lopez. Like, come on, like what more could you want? And they just fell off a cliff. Like it wasn't even a slow decline. It was just like and Darren Williams was not the same after the injuries and all that stuff. It was just, but I can't knock a team for trying, because there's still so many teams in the league that have never even been to a finals. Like, I mean, like a team like the Grizzlies, they've only been to one Western Conference Finals their entire franchise. They've never even been to a finals. The Suns, think of all the historic teams the Phoenix Suns have had, and they've never won an NBA Finals. So I can never knock a team for trying to go all in. It's just some of those deals could have maybe been a little better, but yes. So the Suns, I mean, at least until January, which is going to be very interesting to see, because the Suns did not want Ayton, and Ayton did not want to play for the Suns. So this is a very interesting. It's going to be. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if the Phoenix Suns implode next year. Like I'm not saying that they're not going to make the playoffs or anything like that, but I don't know if they. I have a lot of concerns. With this team. I just think Ayton is could cause a lot of headaches and a lot of grief is what I think could end up happening. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Almost at 3K. Are we at 3K? We are at 3K actually already. Thank you all so much. Wow, we're at 3011. Thank you, seriously. What a moment. I mean, I'm growing extremely fast. I mean, I was at like 200 subs like a month ago, and it's taken off. I've got like 3,000 subs in the last month, and it's all because of all of you. I really do. I appreciate every single one of you, whether we agree, whether we disagree, whatever. I have bad takes all the time. We all have bad takes all the time. But the one thing you'll get from me is you're going to get my honest opinion. You're going to get my honest thoughts. We're going to have an honest discussion, an honest conversation. But I really appreciate it. We got to 3011. Wow. It's crazy. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button. It really would help a lot. Help me exceed that 3,000. If we could get to 4,000 before the end of this month, that'd be incredible. Especially because the off season is right around the corner, right? The Suns, I'm assuming the Suns would be silly to give up Ayton. He's a great big, one of the few that can hang with. Yeah. The Pacers basically called their bluff and put them in a position where they had no choice but to match. They really did. They had no choice. So yeah, it makes sense. They don't want Westbrook the player. They want Westbrook the contract. There's like I mentioned earlier, there's a reason that the Westbrook to the Pacers trade keeps coming up. When a trade doesn't have legs, because we see it all the time, when a trade doesn't have legs, what ends up happening is it goes away and it never comes back. Yet once a week, this trade ends up getting brought up once again. And it's because the Pacers are a rebuilding team. If they got Ayton, that changes everything. Now that they don't have Ayton, they're probably tanking again. So this makes a lot of sense to kind of expedite what you need to do. You free up your cap space, and now you have potential to go sign other guys. Why not go for Gary Trent Jr. for the same assets you will give up for Buddy Hield? Why are the Lakers so fixated on him? I think it's a multitude of reasons. I think one, it's kind of like the white whale, with Buddy Hield. I think it's like the one that got away. Like we should have gotten him. We had him. We didn't do it. So now we need to get it. And then that way the Lakers can say, well, look, we were supposed to get him last year, but guess what? We got him this year anyway. I think that's kind of what it is. But Gary Trent Jr., it depends on what his asking price is. Now, the Toronto Raptors have some fascination with THT because they've tried to trade for him twice already. And there was even reports of like a third time. But we know for sure They tried to acquire him twice, and they had a deal worked out for THT, and the Knicks ended up ruining it. So I don't know. I mean, it's possible. If we could get Gary Trent, that'd be incredible. Because Gary Trent, Gary Trent had more 30-point games last season than like Giannis, James Harden. There's like a whole list of like Gary Trent's 30-point games. He had like 28 or something like that. And then like the next highest or next closest to Gary Trent was like 23 or something like that. So, if you're Rob Pelinka, how would you be willing to wait before you pivot and move on? Because the thing is, I wanted to point out, if you wait too long for Kyrie, backup plans might not be there. I mean, yes, that's always the possibility. There's always that. You still have until September, right? And I think that you got to be patient when it comes to Kyrie, because who else is out there that's going to make that big of an impact, right? So let's say their backup plan is Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, right? Let's say that really, because that's the report, right? Let's say they really want that. Do they make you a contender? Like, I don't think so. I don't think that they are I don't think they make you better than if you went and got Kyrie Irving. Or let's say you can't get Miles. So let's say you could just get Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, I don't think moves the needle enough, but Kyrie would. So it's like, do you be patient and you wait? And it's just, I think personally, Rob Pelinka is doing the right thing. Because there's no backup plans that are out there that are going to be, franchise changing, where you're going to end up winning a bunch of titles now, other than if you get Kyrie Irving. If you get Kyrie Irving and you have him locked in for the next 4 years or whatever, then yeah, you're probably winning a championship or two. So it's like, what would you rather have? If let's say worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, let's say Kyrie stays with Brooklyn, you miss out on the Buddy Hield deal, like you still have the same team either way. You just don't have Buddy Hield now. But maybe you could go and give up a couple seconds or something for Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's probably a lot more obtainable. Or you wait till the trade deadline and then you maybe work it out there. So I think the Lakers are being smart by standing pat. Yes, I agree with you 100%. Anthony Davis is the key. If Anthony Davis is just that guy, then yes, I think so. No worries. I appreciate you being here. I'm going to be wrapping up here shortly. I'm just trying to get through some of these comments as fast as I can. Become a Rams fan. I can understand that. I mean, hey, I was alive when they were the LA Rams the first time. I used to have, when I was a kid, I had an LA Rams jacket. So yeah, but Lakers have to stop with the Buddy Hield nonsense. He is not a consistent scorer like Wiggins. But the problem is they can't get Wiggins. It comes down to obtainability. Buddy Hield is probably very likely obtainable. And Buddy Hield, yes, he is he can be very hot and cold at times, but he's a guy that you need. They have no shooters. That's the problem. They have literally no shooters. LeBron, based on statistics from last season, LeBron James is their best three-point shooter. They would be dead last in the NBA if you take all of the percentages of all of them, which Trevor Lane from Lakers Nation, he did it, and he was the one that posted and everything. If you take all the percentages, the Lakers would be dead last in three-point shooting in the NBA. Buddy Hield's not going to change that, but he's gonna. It's a positive direction. Pacers now have a lot of cap space, so hear me out. Lakers get Kyrie and Buddy. Pacers get Russ, 2029 first-round pick. Nets get Kendrick Nunn and 2027 first-round pick. If you're basically just combining the two deals, which is ideally, you probably have to get THT in that, because I would imagine THT, the Pacers are probably going to want something along those lines, or the Nets. Because the problem is the Nets want multiple picks, so you probably got to throw another pick. But this isn't completely out of the realm of possibility. I think there would be a couple adjustments to that, but I don't think you're too far off. Laker fan, LA born and raised, and think LeBron is the GOAT. I like to see it, my boy, especially seeing all the hate Bron gets from LA fans. Look, I am not the biggest LeBron fan in the world. I mean, I'm glad he went to the Lakers. I know many people aren't. But I mean, if we're just being fair, unbiased, take out everything, LeBron James is a generational talent. Like we will likely never see another LeBron James ever again. And I think people don't appreciate greatness. They always want to like talk and try to downplay or try to figure out not just that, but think of LeBron James for his career. Jordan had headlines, negative headlines, and marks all over his name and stuff like that. Like Jordan had controversies. LeBron James is the biggest star ever that has never had a controversy. Nothing. Like the guy was one of the most hyped, if not the most hyped player ever coming to the league, lived up to all the hype, married his high school sweetheart, had kids, never had a scandal, never had as much as a parking ticket, has done nothing but help the world and schools and build schools for, the community and stuff like that. Like how can you not like LeBron James? Like, he's done everything right. I just think, people, when you're that great, people want to find a way to tear you down. It's just how it is. I mean, we see people on the internet, and you still see celebrities and stuff. They just wait for that one "I gotcha" moment, and they tear it down. And I just think it's miserable. Like, it's a miserable way to live. Like, why do you want to try to tear down greatness? Like, the guy is like what we all dream of. Like, the guy is incredible. So, but that's just me personally. Yeah, but LeBron and Russ didn't even interact in summer league. Their chemistry and Russ pretty much ruined. I think so too. I'm telling you, I really believe that the deal is done. I could be completely wrong, but that day there was a lot of signs that that deal was done. All the word in Vegas in summer league, again, somebody that lives in Vegas, the word was that the deal is done. They are just waiting to announce it till after the 17th, which would be at the end of summer league. And and then that very day, Russ is all upset. They're avoiding LeBron James. THT looks a little off. A lot of questions there with him. You just see Rob Pelinka is like, he looks like a guy that just got the girl, just got the girl to say yes to go to the prom. Like he's over there high-fiving people, kissing babies, taking pictures. Like it was incredible. Like it just looked like a guy who just got a deal done. Then the next day you see Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka. They're all buddy, like, laughing and joke. Like they look like somebody that got the deal done. Could be looking into it too much, but we'll see. And we'll see how it goes. Love the show and thanks for the content. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us and everything like that. So you honestly think Kyrie will be a Laker? That I do. I really do. Like I said, I could be completely wrong. I'm not an insider. I'm just some idiot on the internet. But I do. I think it's a matter of when, not if. Everyone needs to stop bashing Westbrook. The guy is a very good player. He just doesn't fit with the team. Just like trying to fit a square in a circle doesn't mean something is wrong with the square. Exactly. Great. That is a great analogy, AJ. I'm with you 100%. What else? Everyone drop a like. Yes, please. Please. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel. It helps me out a lot. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. So this person said, stop asking for money. I asked twice. I said, if you want your comment ahead of time, then, if you, instead of me going in order, because some people want me to answer the question. If you want me to answer your question, that's what a super chat is for, because it brings it all the way up. But we're streamers. We're here to do this. We're here on that. Anybody that tells you that they don't do YouTube for money is a liar. Okay? Like, do I want to one day be able to just do YouTube for the rest of my life and just have these conversations and enjoy this chat and enjoy this stuff? Absolutely. And any YouTuber that tells you otherwise is full of it. Now, do I do this only for money? No, of course not. I'm not making anything. Like I'm doing this for essentially free. I mean, I haven't gotten one super chat, so I've gone 2 hours. I'm doing it for free. But in the reality, look, streamers, YouTubers, anybody on the internet, they all do stuff. The goal is to be successful, right? That's the goal. And anybody that tells you otherwise is full of it. So yes, exactly. So like Rich said, to love this guy is a streamer, probably pays the bills. Stop hating on the hustle. Thank you. I appreciate you. I just saw that comment. I was going to ignore it, but I figured I'd address it because, that's the thing. We're here for that. We're here to try to interact with our community, have fun, have conversations. If we can make a little money, then yeah, of course. That's what streamers do. Have you never been in a live stream before? Like, come on. Do you think Lakers will miss out on a good trade if we keep waiting on Kyrie? The problem is like, what's the good trade? You know what I mean? Like what? Like, yeah. Again, like, let's say we could get Buddy Hield, right? Like, that, to me, that doesn't move the needle. Like, I don't think like, oh, we got Buddy Hield, we're a contender now. Like, I just don't see that being the case. I could be, completely wrong. Maybe he is. Maybe he has the best shooting career of his year because he's got LeBron James to dish the ball to and stuff like that. Anthony Davis is an absolute monster. You have LeBron James, absolute monster, all of that stuff. Like, yeah, it's very possible. But I just, like, what is that other trade that's going to be that great? You got that Wu-Tang hairline. Wu-Tang? Or the Batman curl hairline. Thank you, Blook. I appreciate you. What we got? Nets don't have a lot of options either. No suitors. They keep him. He will walk away. Zero assets to return. Lakers have leverage. I agree with you, Rich. The Lakers have they have no one to compete with. And every time the Nets have tried to make a leverage play, it's blown up in their face. They tried to say like, oh, Dallas, we have Philly. They're interested in Kyrie Irving. And immediately both teams came out and said, absolutely not. Like, no way, we don't want Kyrie. Like, if you're the Lakers, you're doing the right thing by being patient. You have nothing to lose here, right? You get Kyrie for free and you have your assets, you go make another trade. Or you make the trade and you get Kyrie Irving. Like, if somebody comes out of the woodworks and they want it, well, then you figure it out. But I just don't see it. If somebody was going to come out of the woodworks and be that guy, then guess what? They'd probably be that. It probably would have already happened. I don't think, tomorrow, all of a sudden the Jazz are like, we want Kyrie Irving. Like, like, I just don't see that happening. What is going on, Speedy? Appreciate you. Lakers since 1978. Awesome. Appreciate you, Ants. Thank you. Welcome aboard. And this is a good time to plug it again. Shameless plug. I do have another YouTube channel, As It Stands Lakers, because I am a Laker fan. I'm a huge Laker fan. I know many of the Laker fans in these streams and stuff and on this channel are already subscribed there. But if you're not subscribed to As It Stands Lakers, please head on over there and subscribe. I have a link in the description. All of the big stuff I'll still talk about here, but all of like the little ins and outs and stuff I will touch here are on that channel. So, but Danny Thomas, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thoughts on Mitchell to the Knicks and what it will cost to obtain him. So I think this is arguably the biggest domino yet, because depending on how it shapes up, if, like, let's say Donovan Mitchell goes for like the rumored, what was it? Bobby Marks put it out there as like 6 first-round picks, Julius Randle, Derrick Rose, and RJ Barrett. I don't know why I blanked on that. My apologies. But like, let's say it's that deal. That completely changes the conversation for Kevin Durant. And we already saw that with the Rudy Gobert trade, right? Originally, the Nets reported like what they wanted was like a one young borderline all-star player and also or an all-star player and like 3 or 4 first-round draft picks. Then the Gobert trade happened, right? Then that changed to we want 4 or 5 first-round picks and now 2 of those types of players. And if Donovan Mitchell ends up going for some ridiculous package to the Knicks, then I think that Kevin Durant's price I just think Kevin Durant becomes untradeable, because like no team will be able to match that asking price. Now, from a Knicks perspective, I don't understand why the Knicks want Donovan Mitchell. It makes 0 sense to me. They just signed Jalen Brunson, who is basically Donovan Mitchell. They're both 6 feet or 6'1", my apologies, but they're both 6'1". They both do the exact same thing. They both play 0 defense. You're going to have arguably one of the worst backcourts in NBA history with those two. Like, and they both do the same thing. Like, they both are the same player in so many ways. They both score the same. Their skill sets are the same. Like, everything. Their sizes are the same. I don't think it makes any sense for the New York Knicks to go and do a trade like that for Mitchell. Before they got Jalen Brunson, I thought it made all the sense in the world. Yeah, go get that. But since then, I just think it makes no sense. I don't know why they would want to do something like that. But it feels like a Knicks thing to do. It does. It just feels like this is something that the Knicks would do, just because they want to be relevant. They want the conversation, and I want the Knicks to be good. I think it's good for basketball. As an NBA fan, if the mecca of basketball is good, that's good for the NBA, right? But the Knicks just make these deals and just go after like the it just seems like they're always going after the wrong guy. You have 22 draft picks. Like, save those and wait for the next disgruntled player to want out. It happens every year or every couple years. You got Jalen Brunson. Let's see what he could do. And then what happens if next year Bradley Beal's like, you know what, I want out. Go trade for Bradley Beal. He's not too far off from Donovan Mitchell, but at least he's more established. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But again, Danny, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It really does mean a lot. Seriously. 80 is big. That like to play like a guard. Yeah, I want to see AD get back to being AD. I want to see him, hitting that outside shot. He's shooting with the lethal shooter. The last time he did that, we got bubble Anthony Davis. So I think that that's very important as well. Oh no, what did I do? Here we go. Lakers since 1969. Awesome, Speedy. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you being a Laker fan for that long. So you've been through all the roller coasters. You've seen it all. You and Ants, both of you. Good job. Keep it up. Please send me a shout out to Oscar. What's going on, Oscar, in Paramount, California? Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. The Kyrie trade is not going to happen. We need to go plan B pronto. I don't know. The word on the street is that it's already ready to go. That they're just waiting until summer league ends. If that's the case, then yeah. But I don't know. Like I said, what is the plan B? And does it make us that much better? We're just assuming that it's Miles Turner and Buddy Hield because that's what was reported. But I don't know. Now that they missed out on Ayton, do they want to keep Miles Turner? I think the Ayton domino changed a lot. I think it changed a lot of things. But Tracy McGrady had amazing potential. He was a monster. I could not agree more. I loved Tracy McGrady growing up. Like, I love Tracy McGrady. Russ will be a Laker and be loved by LA fans. Darvin Ham will be the difference. I do think Darvin Ham has a vision that could be very beneficial to Russ. You can't rule it out. I can't say it's not going to happen, but you never know. People say players are more athletic today, but you can't tell me Vince Carter wouldn't winning every dunk. Oh, Vince Carter is arguably the most athletic guy ever. There are more, as a general NBA, yeah, there's more athleticism today than ever, but there are still some of those freak athletes like Vince Carter. Vince Carter is definitely one of them. 1 MJ, 2 LeBron, 3 Kareem. I can understand that. I can respect that. LeBron and Russ are a terrible combo. Exactly. That's the big question. Will they be trading Turner anymore? I don't think so. I don't think so either. Thank you. Jordan had tons of help. People, I swear, people, whether you believe in Jordan, whether Jordan is the greatest player or not, that's not what the argument's about. My point is that people act like Michael Jordan was playing 1-on-5 out there, or he was playing with a bunch of bums. Jordan had Hall of Famers on his team. He had one of the greatest teams in history. You don't have arguably the greatest team in history win 72 games with a bunch of bums. It's just people act like Jordan was this god, and he just, he single-handedly took, everybody to the. There were back in the day. There were reports that Scottie Pippen was the second greatest player in the league behind Michael Jordan. Those were real reports. That was a real conversation. Is Scottie Pippen the second best player in the league? I don't think he was, but that's how good Scottie Pippen was. And everything he did, he was a perfect complement to Jordan. Perfect. Bron, KD, and Kyrie is tough. Facts. Nobody wants to play that team. Nobody. Yes, exactly. $47 million expiring contract is great for any team that's rebuilding. Kyrie is not going to be traded by the Nets. It's possible. I don't completely rule it out. I really don't. Don't want to do that. Suns are overpaying for Ayton. They don't really have a choice. You can't lose him for nothing. He's too good to lose for nothing. I don't think you could do that. I mean, it's the largest sign sheet in NBA history. It sucks, but I like Rodman more than Pippen. Rodman was Rodman was a character. Nets also traded the pick that became Damian Lillard for Gerald Wallace. Yes, that's very true. Stupid K is insane to watch the Lakers. Yeah, they do. They do get a ridiculous amount. Do you think the holdup is really 2 first-round picks or more to it? I don't know. I mean, I don't even really know if there is a holdup because, I mean, like Woj and Brian Windhorst, they said essentially the same thing like 2 days before that report came out that the holdup was 2 first-round picks. They both said that the deal was understood by both sides. They didn't say the deal was done, but they said the deal was understood, but like both sides know what the deal is going to be. And then like 2 days later, you get the report that the deal's being held up by 2 first-round picks. I don't know. And that came out after the whole the deal's already done report. And so it's just like, I don't know. The way I look at it is that like a deal isn't done until it's done, right? So why wouldn't you try to throw stuff out there to see if maybe you could get more before the final hour? Rodman was so much fun to watch play. He really was. I mean, the worm. I mean, and arguably the greatest, if not the greatest rebounder ever. I mean, that guy just had a nose for the basketball. Austin, welcome back. I appreciate you. Thanks for popping back in. Congrats. Thanks. Great channel. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you all. Reaching 3K this fast, it's unbelievable. Like I said, like a month and a half ago or a month ago or whatever it was, I'm at 3021 now. I was at like 250 subs like a month and a half ago. So, and I appreciate all of you. Seriously. Thoughts. Oh, yeah, this was the super chat after the super chat. Well, again, thank you so much, Danny, for the $5 super chat. It means a ton to me. Thank you. I love your Dodger sweater. Well, thank you. Just straightforward Dodger sweater. I mean, it's hot in Nevada, but it's a little chilly in my office. So I was like, and it's really light. So I was like, oh, let me just throw on this. Your optimism is bar none. This channel will keep growing. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Hey, you got to be optimistic, right? We live in a world of just craziness, sports and otherwise. So you gotta have a little optimism, right? But thank you, I really do. I appreciate you. Do you plan on covering all sports on the channel, or are you sticking to basketball? I am absolutely planning on covering all sports. Well, maybe not all sports. I mean, I'm probably not covering like golf or class, but yeah, definitely. Once we get closer to football, we'll dive into some NFL. Probably do updates. I did a live stream briefly yesterday. People were talking to me like do like a post game live stream stuff like that, which I think would be a cool idea. I definitely will be doing other sports beyond basketball. It's just like right now we're just in the heart of the off season and all these trades and speculations and and I'm trying to grow the channel, so it's like this is the stuff that's getting views and really taking off. So I might as well kind of stick to that. But yeah, and plus there's not really any major like news outside of other stuff. Like I did randomly make like a Jake Paul video or something like that, like a couple weeks ago, stuff like that. Like any like stuff that's like, oh, that's interesting. I've been throwing out there, but for the most part, yeah, we'll be covering everything. To add more players to the roster, yes, the Lakers definitely aren't done. Mitchell trade will probably happen tomorrow. I mean, I don't rule it out. I mean, it's always possible. I just don't think any big trade is going to happen until the 17th, but could be completely wrong. Yeah, I don't think that. I think that becomes a big problem too. Was Ryan Hollins a better basketball player or basketball analyst? I don't think he was very good at either. But I mean, Ryan Hollins wasn't a bad player. He was. He had his moments. He had that one year where he was like solid. He had that one year where he was like, what year was it that he was like, he averaged like 15 points or something. Like he had that one like really good year. And then outside of that, he was like, didn't Ryan Hollins himself say he's a better analyst than a basketball player? Is that what he said? All this drama, just to see Ben Simmons, KD, and Kyrie become all-stars with the Nets. It's very possible. I mean, at the end of the day, at least it's entertaining, right? I mean, worst case scenario, it's entertainment. At least that's how I look at it. Will Danny Ainge help out the Lakers? I mean, I don't think he'd help. He's not just going to help the Lakers out of the kindness of his heart. But if the deal's right, if a deal's right, a deal's right. You're not gonna be that petty. Your job is to improve your organization the best way possible. So if they can get a solid deal, then especially if Utah's rebuilding, they don't care if the Lakers are a contender for the next 2 years. Like, you're not going to be a contender the next 2 years regardless. So if you could get the assets to when the Lakers suck, like, why wouldn't you? Lakers and Utah would be a great trade, yeah. Hate on the GOATs, that's all. Yeah, people love to hate on greatness. But to be fair, you're not great unless you have haters, right? You're doing something wrong if you don't have haters. But I like LeBron as a person, but he's got to get his ego in check. Not a fan of his on the court. I mean, when you're that great, you're gonna have an ego. But everybody that is a superstar has it. I mean, Jordan had an ego. Kobe had an ego. LeBron, I mean, everybody has that ego. It's how you become great. Wants that 27 and 29 picks. I'm sure that they do. I don't rule that out at all. And I'm sorry, I just want to check something. Okay, cool. Wanted to make sure. Let's see. Hi, Mama. Hello. Well, thank you. Oh, I get it. It's a bunch of little birds. That was great. Yeah, I mean, there was a report that Russell Westbrook wants out, that he wants to be traded. So, I mean, it's very possible. But yeah, let's do a few more questions, and then I'm gonna wrap it up here. I have no respect for Laker fans who hate on LeBron. I also feel the Clippers hate is ridiculous. Also, let them play in some meaningful games before we call it a rivalry. Just saying. Yeah, I don't think the Clippers is really a rivalry. I think the Clippers. It's just that I think the Clippers. I think if the Clippers were in another state, the Clippers wouldn't get as much hate as they get. I just think it's like they're the other team. It's like little brother. You pick on little brother, stuff like that. I don't understand the LeBron hate regardless. Whether you're a Laker fan or not, I don't understand the LeBron hate. But that's just me personally. I mean, I don't understand the hate for anybody, period. Like, there's enough hate in the world. Why do we need to hate people? If Kyrie does end up with LA, I still think the Warriors are the team to beat in the West. I mean, I don't know. Anthony Davis is a mismatch. That's the big thing. I mean, like, but I don't know. I definitely don't rule out the Warriors at all. The Warriors are insanely stacked, and they're gonna be a contender for the next 10 years still, which is insane to think because they've been a contender for the last like 8. So it's crazy. You make a big, good argument, but I'd still go with the guy who has 6 rings, 6 Finals MVPs in the GOAT over 4 and 6 Finals. I understand that. Like I said, I mean, I just kind of briefly touched on it. Maybe I'll make a video, or maybe we'll do a dedicated live stream and have like a real debate with all of us on like a LeBron, Jordan thing. That would be pretty fun. I mean, I can get pretty amped and animated. So if we do that, be prepared for me to be like, what are you talking about? Kyrie and Seth equals Russ, 2 first-rounders plus a pick, THT. Well, you can't do that because the salaries don't match. But I could see something along those lines. This is a great comment. No one's probably going to understand this comment, but I understand this comment. It's great. Well, thank you, thank you, Jason. What will happen first? LeBron wins another ring. That's what it is. Appreciate you, Jason. I love my Lakers, but can you comment on how Clippers look? Big Brother scary. So, like, look, I've actually commented on this before. The Clippers may be the best team in the Western Conference this season if they're healthy. That's my only concern with the Clippers is Paul George and Kawhi Leonard's health because they have had a lot of trouble the last several years of being healthy. They are arguably the deepest team in the league. They have like everything from wings to size to scoring to shooting. I mean, the Clippers, the Clippers look like Big Brother this year. Yes, that they are. They are very intimidating. If we get Kyrie, I like our odds. If we don't get Kyrie, I think the Clippers run through us. Personally, I do. I think that yeah, it's gonna be tough. Yeah. If I'm being fair, if I'm being honest, the Clippers are monsters this year. But I don't know. You might have not been here earlier, but I even mentioned earlier, like I would have loved for Kevin Durant to go to the Suns, Kyrie to go to the Lakers, because then imagine those four. Like I mentioned, like Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, and Suns. Like that four, like would have been incredible. Um, Probably not unless they get the Turner trade. If the Turner deal ends up happening, then yes. Otherwise, no. Like if the Turner deal really is just nonsense, then no, they'll probably keep it as is because you have AD that can play center, which AD will probably play center, especially like in the playoffs to close games, stuff like that. What is going on, Mr. Bino? Appreciate you being here. I'm actually getting ready to sign out. Been going 2 hours. I just wanted to try to get through some of the comments, but I still have a long way to go. Um, so I'll answer like we'll get through like a couple more. Um, Glad to see you streaming. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been going for about 2 hours. 2 hours strong. I really appreciate you. Um, why would the Lakers get Turner if they just signed two different centers? That makes no sense at all. What do you think? So I mean, yes. So they do have two centers. They did sign uh, Damian Jones and Thomas Bryant. Sorry, I blanked on that for a minute. But Miles Turner is, a huge upgrade over both of them. But not just that, Miles Turner can also play power forward in pinches if need be. We've seen him play power forward on several occasions. But you're also very likely going to have AD missing 20 plus games a season. So it'd probably be good to have that third big to kind of that can play power forward and center. I think very likely you basically swap. It's kind of like what they did, in the 2022 or 2020 season. Where they had like you had Davis, you had Dwight Howard, you had McGee, and you kind of just alternated them. They all kind of just played stuff like that. So yeah, um, that's kind of how I look at it. I personally think the Lakers should build this right trade 2 first-round picks for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. The next year, Kyrie could sign. I think that that's a real possibility. I really do. I think that's their plan B. So I mean, we'll see. Um, would Laker fans be mad if AD was traded for Turner now? Absolutely, I would be mad. That would be stupid. uh, Personally, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I just touched on that. Um, Support as it stands. Get that hate out of your heart. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Marcus. Hey, look, it's sports. Sport people get very passionate about sports. People are stuck on their beliefs. You have the casual fan. You have all that stuff. It comes with it. Believe me, I understand when I started this channel what I was getting into. I'm very hip to it. But yeah, I do. I just think there's too. Like I said, it takes too much energy to hate. It takes too much energy to whine. Just enjoy life. Life's too short. Um, what else do we got? Jonathan Isaac would be a nice pickup for the Lakers. I would take a chance on him. So the concerns is, I mean, he hasn't played in 2 years, right? But he is a solid pick. Like he would be a low risk, high reward, depending on what you get from him. And Orlando has like a ridiculous amount of like picks and stuff. I wouldn't mind it. Like if they could do something light for it, I would take the chance. It just depends on what the trade would be. Um, Danny Ainge is a master GM. I don't know. I mean, he got lucky in the Nets deal, and he never did anything with it. I mean, for years, everyone was talking about, like, why don't you bully? I mean, he just, like, held on to those picks and kept talking about how, oh, I'm gonna make this deal. I'm gonna make this deal. I'm gonna make this, and he never ended up making a deal. But he did fleece Minnesota. I will give him that. So he's had 2 really good fleeces. I wouldn't say he's a master GM, but he's definitely no dummy. He's definitely not a bad GM. Because, I mean, he butchered and fleeced the Nets, and he did the same thing to Minnesota. So, yeah. So, I do understand. Because they were the Knicks a couple years ago, they signed like 6 power forwards. Yes. Yes, this is very true. Like I said, I don't understand the reason you go and trade for Donovan Mitchell. It makes no sense to me. I hope that they don't, but chances are they're going to, and it makes no logical sense to me. But neither does signing 6 power forwards. The Knicks trade offer is looking more like Quickly Grimes, and I forgot, but Randall and RJ aren't included in recent rumor trades. The Knicks have like 8 picks to give Jazz and 3 or 4 swaps. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be primarily picks. They need to keep RJ, but even then, let's say it's Quickly Grimes, and let's say 5 first-round picks, right? Great, but Donovan Mitchell doesn't make any sense on the team you currently have. This is my problem with the Knicks. What is their direction, and what is their identity? It doesn't seem like there's any of that. It doesn't seem like any of that is something. Like, I don't know. It's just me. It just makes no sense to me. Yes, I have. I actually haven't finished it yet, but I've gotten through like 5 or 6 episodes, something like that. So yes, I need to finish it. But yeah, it's Showtime or whatever on HBO Max. Yes, I love it. Pacers have to move Turner now. I don't know if they have to, but I think they'll definitely at least explore the potential. The Lakers should target DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, I would like it. It's just, I don't know. Now that you got Thomas Bryant, I don't know how many bigs you want. We need shooting more than anything. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins can knock down the 3. I just don't know if we need any more size, unless you can get a guy like Miles Turner, because, I mean, Miles Turner he's Miles Turner. I mean, he's going to provide everything for you. What's your top 3 players all time without explaining? LeBron, Jordan, and then after that it gets kind of tricky. I'd probably put Kareem or Magic there. Yeah. Personally, like impact on my life, I'd probably put Kobe. But from just like an all-time great perspective, it'd be LeBron, Jordan, and Kareem. The Pacers will trade for a Lego set. If you're not first, you're last, Ricky Bobby. Shake and bake, Ricky Bobby, shake and bake. If I'm being totally honest, I don't really crap who the GOAT is. I just say Jordan's the GOAT because my friend is the biggest actually, so he conceded. Jordan and LeBron are both top 2. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick just one player as like the greatest ever. I mean, you're better off picking, like, I think the easier conversation is like, who's the greatest starting 5 ever? Because in that case, you have positions, right? So you have like, Magic Johnson, you have Michael Jordan, you have LeBron James, you have, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and maybe Shaq or something like that. Or you could, you could swap anything. But like to say like the greatest ever, it's hard because a lot of the players, they have different size. Like Allen Iverson, I mean, if he was 6'8", he might have been the greatest player ever. I mean, you can't teach height, stuff like that. I just think there's a lot that goes into it. But I think Kyrie will be a Laker before training camp starts. I think so too. I really do too. Not NBA related, but Zach Wilson will be the next. He's got that dog in him. Zach Wilson has gotten a couple things on him apparently. But yes, I do. But we're definitely going to dive into football and stuff like that as we approach closer to the season. It's just we're in the heart of the NBA, right? So, and then once like all the seasons and stuff start, we'll be all over the place. We'll talk about what's entertaining. Finish 4th in the NFC East, yes, very likely. Um, uh, yes, Suns. Yes, Suns matched the offer. Um, oh, that's so funny. See, you read my mind, Blecka. I swear to you, I didn't read that. I didn't see that comment because it was like another page down. I didn't see that comment. I said the exact same thing. AI, like if AI was 6'8", he probably would be the greatest player ever. 2018 LeBron fire, yes, yes. That 2018 LeBron, I think, was the LeBron where I was like, that dude is something else, you know. Um, yes, I agree. They do need to move cities. I think if they move cities, they'd get a lot more respect, and they wouldn't be as hated as many others are. Um, Bro, do you think Kyrie will be on the Lakers by the 20th? I think it's a very real possibility. I don't think any big trade happens until the 17th. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I don't think Kyrie gets traded until after the 17th. Um, have you heard of the Clippers curse? It's a real thing for LA natives. Yes. I mean, it's very possible. Well, there's what is the oh man, um, I can't think of. There's another NBA curse beyond that it was pretty interesting, and it lasted for like 30 years or something like that. But I mean, like look at like Boston, you know, the goat curse stuff like that. You know, so I get it. Um, but I'm gonna. What's going on, Casey? I appreciate you. Um, what is the best rumored trade I've heard that never happened? Um, that's tough. I would probably have to like think back to like all of the trades because there's been a lot of like what if trades. Um, probably as a Laker fan, probably CP3. Like even though that wasn't a rumor trade, that was like a done deal trade. But I think that would have. I've always wanted to know like what would have happened. Like that is probably one of the biggest what ifs to me. That and like if OKC kept James Harden are probably two of the more recent what ifs that come to mind. Um, watched your videos last week. Chances Kyrie is coming to the squad by the 20th. I think. I mean, like I said, according to Vegas, it's supposed to happen after the 17th. Might not be 100%, but you know, it's something to look out for. Um, Jonathan Isaac is worth the risk. Back in the bubble, he was incredible. Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm with you. I would be all for it, depending on what it is. Depending on what it is. Boston, what's going on, Boston George? What's up, everyone? Not in here than last night. You're making progress. Oh, Boston, you should have been here earlier. I had like 502 people in it earlier. We've been going for a while. We've been going for about like 2.5 hours. So, yeah, and last night was just one. I didn't promote it; it was random, and I still had like we still had like 100 people at one point, or 92 people at one point, which was surprising. And it was super late. Like this was more like in the heart of the day, so it made sense. But yeah, you should have been here earlier. I had 502 people. That was incredible. But I appreciate you being in this live stream and my last one last night. We'll definitely do more of these. Exactly. Way too small. Way too small. Katie to the Puckets. I would love to see this. I really would. I mean, if Zion could be Zion, you have CJ McCollum as like the ultimate two, and then you have Kevin Durant, and you still have like Steven Adams and stuff. Like, I think that they would have, like, I think they're a legit contender. I really do. But that's just me. I think it'd be funny if Mitchell was traded at the Jazz because Tyler Hero's personality in Utah would be hilarious. Yeah, yeah. I get I don't I think you meant the Heat, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, it would be. Bring the Clippers to Seattle. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Change their name to the Seattle Supersonics. Seattle deserves a team more than anybody, in my opinion. I think Lakers really taking a look at pieces that Utah pulled the trigger. Mike Conley, Beasley, Bowen, like defense, Pat. Yeah, I mean, it would be smart too, right? It would make sense to like let's see what else can be out, like what else is out there. I mean, they're smart. Plus 1 year deals are what the Lakers want. Exactly, they want expiring contracts, especially like Patrick Beverly, 13 million expiring. I just think it comes down to like what do you have to give up for some of these guys. For James Worthy, yes, that is true. Yeah, Charles Barkley confirmed that on what TNT. T-Mac to Shaq, T-Mac to Shaq and Kobe. Lakers is the greatest trade that never happened. That is actually a really good one too. Yeah, like I said, I probably have to sit and like really think about it, but that is a really good one. T-Mac to the Shaq and Kobe. Yeah, yeah. I think Russ is going to be motivated to shut up LA fans this season. I agree. I really think wherever Russ goes, he's going to ball. I really do. I really believe he's going to ball. KD should stick it out with the Nets. Don't see why risking leaving Kai, TJ, and Simmons. What more could you want? I mean, I don't think KD is going to have a choice at this point. The problem is, will Kyrie want to stay? Like, I think that bridge is burned, and that's the problem. But Kyrie isn't being traded until KD is traded. It makes no sense. I think he gets traded. I think that the KD thing doesn't matter anymore because I don't know if they're going to be able to trade KD anymore. Will the Knicks get Mitchell, Andy from Australia? Well, thank you so much, Andy from Australia. I mean, they're trying to, and they could probably put together the best package for a rebuilding team. So it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why in the world you would want to trade for Mitchell when you got Jalen Brunson. It makes no sense to me. No, you're all good, Austin. Ooh, did we get through the chat? Awesome. So I'm going to answer these last two questions, and I'm going to get out of here because I actually made it to the end of the chat, surprisingly. Hope the Knicks give up a few picks in Randle and Fournier for Mitchell and keep their young core. I mean, if they can keep Barrett in this trade and they can end up moving off for Randall's contract, stuff like that, I would be all for it. But I just don't think it makes sense to get Mitchell when you got Jalen Brunson. You have arguably the worst backcourt in NBA history with those two, but we'll see. Phoenix Suns bring Kevin Durant to the Valley. Problem is I don't think they can do it anymore, at least not until January, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see what shakes up. But anyway, I reached the end of the stream, the end of the chat, which is amazing because I was super far behind, but I appreciate you all so very much. I'm going to actually sign off out of here. I wanted to, try to get to as many comments as I can. It gets a little crazy at times, but I thank you. But anyway, we'll definitely do this more. I'll look out for those streams. I'll try to get like a set schedule to where every couple days or whatever, we can kind of do this. And so that way everyone knows, like, here we go. I definitely want to try like different times too. Like last night I did my first live stream at like 9 p.m. Just because I wanted to see. Today we did it at 6. Might try to do like afternoon or morning, kind of get a feel to see like how it went. I mean, this live stream was great. I mean, we had 500 people in the stream, which was incredible. And I thank you all so much for hanging out with me. I mean, I've had like 160 to 200 people literally from the moment I started till now. You're all amazing. It's wonderful. It's so surprising and shocking and humbling how fast I've grown on this channel. Like I said, a month and a half ago, I was at 250 subs. And now we're at, let's see what the update is. Let's see. We are at 330 subs, or 3,030 subs. I mean, seriously, I'm humbled. I thank you. Thank you all for hanging out with me, spending this time, taking time out of your day. If you're not subscribe, please. It helps me out a lot. If you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. It helps out. Get this even after the stream, all that stuff. And let's keep having the conversations. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it moving. Thank you so much for the super chat earlier. I really do appreciate it. It really does help me. It really does help get the channel. Like I said, everyone's goal that does this is to be successful at this one day. And the only way to be successful is people watching the videos and super chats, So it means a lot to me. But again, appreciate y'all. I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.